What do you get when you mix tents, tackle, a skiff full of rods, and 3 days out in one of Florida's wildest fishing spots? You get this trip. Welcome back to Fishing with Kagan. This time, we loaded up and headed south to Chokoloskee, smack between the Everglades and the Gulf, right where the mangroves start taking over and the water turns into a maze of endless islands. They call it 10,000 islands for a reason. We had our gear packed, tents ready, coolers full of ice, and tackle bags loaded to the brim. This wasn't a grab-and-go kind of trip. We were locked in. Jerry and I made the drive with our buddy Brandon and his daughter Delaney, and we were meeting up with another good friend of ours, Tito, at Chokoloskee Island Park and Marina. This place is remote, wild, and packed with fish if you know where to look. And even if you don't, the ride alone makes it worth it. We weren't just here for a quick session. We were camping, fishing, and soaking up every minute of it for the next 3 days. Out here, the plan is pretty simple. Fish hard, eat good, and try not to get eaten alive by mosquitoes. Brandon's Carolina skiff hit the water, Tito rolled in soon after, and like always, the second we launched, we were already casting. But we had our sights set farther out, way out. Our camp for the trip was a spot called Jewel Key, a tiny island tucked into the mangroves. The guys had stayed there before, but for me, it was all brand new. My first time fishing this area, first time camping out on an island out here, it felt like stepping into a whole different world. No buildings, no roads, hardly any cell signal, just saltwater, mangroves, and miles of water in every direction. We followed the map, winding through the backwater channels until we spotted our island. As soon as we pulled up, it was game time. Tents up, gear organized, and our lifesaver, the netted food tent. Those bugs do not play out there. Once everything was dialed in, we got back on the water as fast as we could and started throwing baits. Redfish were the target. I tied on a jig head with one of my go-to colors, root beer and pearl, and started working on tight casts under the mangroves. But right away, I was just hauling in weeds. I switched to a fluke, no weight, and that let me get tight up into the tree roots without hanging up. It felt like the right move. That steep drop-off meant you really had to keep your bait in the strike zone right against the edge. The water was beautiful, the morning light was perfect, clean, bright, but not too hot yet. And the whole place just felt fishy. There was a ton of structure out there. Oyster bars, pockets in the mangroves, little points. Any of them could be holding fish. Jerry got his cast into the right spot, and sure enough, hooked up with a solid red.
Oh yeah! Oh yeah! Need that net. That's a nice red. Oh, that's a nice red. Right on the top slot. Ooh, that might be a bug slot, man. Wow! Oh my God! What? No, that's probably over slot, man. Hey, it came on hook right there in the net, didn't it?
Oh, that's awesome.
Beautiful hook. Oh, hook set right there. Look at that around the side. That's our dinner right there, dude. Oh yeah, this is slot all the way. Woo! Yeah, he's in.
Awesome.
Damn, bro, you hooked it up. Hey, I got it. What was he, 22? 22. Oh God, I mean Fred.
All right. Good smile, baby. Awesome.
All right, so this is the depth this fish was in. They
Oh,
love
wow.
this rocky bottom. See the little rocky edges?
Yeah.
That's where the redfish are.
Okay.
They love those rocks.
It was a killer way to start the trip. First fish of the day was a solid red. Spirits were high, and we already had dinner in the bag. That's about as good of a start as you can ask for out here. And with the sun still climbing and hours of daylight ahead, we had plenty of time to chase down more.
When he came,
Oh, Oh, Tito! That was a red, bro.
Tito got thumped by another red, but didn't connect. One of those quick hit-and-gone moments. You feel it, swing, and it's already moving on. Still, that's always a good sign. When you're getting hit, you know you're in the right zone. I tried switching back to the jig head and paddle tail to work the rocky shoreline, see if anything was holding tight to structure. But every other cast, I was getting hung up on oysters, and after a few too many snags, I figured it was time to change it up again. This time, I tied on a weighted swimbait hook and threw on a tuxedo-colored paddle tail. Right away, I loved the way it looked in the water. It stood out just enough and had great movement.
Is there any point in casting like out that way?
Be trout out there. You can actually find like random grouper and holes. There could be holes in the bladder channel.
While the guys kept working the shoreline, I decided to swing out into the open water and slow things down a bit. And before long, the trout were hitting left and right.
Oh!
Oh, you're out! Yes!
You're letting too much slack when you reel down. There you go. Smooth. That's it.
What do we got? What do we got? Oh, little trout.
Trout! Yeah, it might be a keeper trout. That looks like it could be a keeper trout.
Oh, lucky. Lucky. As he was pulling it out of the water.
Hey, there's a river right here in the front of the boat.
Hey there. Cool.
Fish rolls out. What is it supposed to be, baby? Right here.
Second.
Here's different.
Oh, that's right. Okay, let me check.
Tuxedo, huh?
Tuxedo.
Ooh. Tuxedo.
What's tuxedo?
Black and white bait.
Oh.
Looks like it's wearing a tuxedo.
15-inch men.
Bag limit 3?
Yeah.
Yep. Alright. Just make sure it's 15.
There should be a school runner on there too then. We cast more out there.
14.
14. Alright, let's see this view.
Last enough.
Nice.
On there, but there's gotta be a whole school over there, so cast that down and give it back. Oh, it's a lady.
My tuxedo paddle tail had taken a beating. The trout tore it up. Solid action, but that bait was toast. I dug into the tackle bag to see what I could try next, and without knowing it, I ended up trying on what's now one of my all-time favorite baits, the Midnight and Chartreuse Zoom Fluke. This thing looked killer in the water. Dark body with that pop of bright green just flashing through the water. And the trout? They loved it too.
They're about the same size, man. And hopefully, if this guy's 14, we're not gonna like, or that. Oh, I don't know.
He was...
See, it's pretty. Look at the spots. How many spots he's got? It's like a leopard. It's so pretty. No, he's too small. He's right at 14. Damn. They're aggressive now, though.
Back in you go, buddy.
No, I knew it. Yeah, they're about the same size.
Is it just the same fish coming back?
We were a little surprised, honestly. We came in expecting to see a lot more redfish, but trout pretty much stole the show. Not that we were complaining, but it definitely wasn't what we thought we'd be targeting all day. After squeezing every minute we could out on the water, we had to head back to camp before the sun dipped too low. We needed time to clean our fish, get dinner going, and check in with the crew on the other boat to see how their day went. And it turns out, their story was the same. No reds, just a steady stream of trout. We cleaned up the catch, got everything prepped, and some of us may or may not have casted a few more times while we still could, in between, but we were settled in and ready for an awesome night. Good food, campfire crackling, and just hanging out with friends in the middle of one of the most peaceful places I've ever been. The plan for tomorrow? Sun up to sundown fishing, and we were more than ready. The next morning kicked off bright and early. Jerry, Delaney, and I loaded up the Carolina skiff and peeled off one way, while Brandon and Tito headed in the opposite direction. We had the whole place to explore, so splitting up gave us a better shot at finding some hot spots. I jumped right back into working on my casting, trying to pitch clean into little pockets in the mangroves, still chasing that perfect drop right into the strike zone. From the second the sun came up, there was this thick fog hanging over everything. We figured it would burn off as the sun climbed higher, but nope, total opposite. The higher it got, the thicker the fog became. One of the weirdest weather mornings I've had out on the water, and it made it feel even more remote out there. We bounced around to a bunch of different spots. Lots of great looking habitat, little channels, points, edges, all the things you want to see. But honestly, the bite started off slow. The thing is, we don't really fish based on tides or bite windows. We go when we can go. Weather, tides, moon phase, whatever. If we've got the time, we're fishing. And sometimes that means finding fish that just don't want to eat. At one point, we stumbled on something wild, an actual black drum spawning event. Hundreds of big, maxed out drum packed into one area, just stacked up. I didn't get it on camera, but man, it was something to see. Big tail swirls, water moving. It felt like we were in the right place, but they just weren't biting. The trout, though, they were still hungry.
That's a keeper trout. Yeah, that's legal.
Yeah. Awesome, baby.
Today, look at the size of that shark on the surface over there. Oh no.
I think it's a baby.
That's a trout.
Oh, it's gone.
I swapped out my white paddle tail for a color called Electric Chicken, a ridiculous name with killer results. Almost right away, I started getting hit again. The trout were back on it, and that crazy color combo was lighting them up.
All right.
We managed to catch a couple keepers for dinner. And when you're out here fishing to feed yourselves for the night, and you didn't exactly bring a backup plan, a few keeper trout start looking really good. Not glamorous, but solid. Into the bag they went. Still, we were really hoping to find those redfish, and it just wasn't happening. The fog kept rolling in, thicker than ever. At one point, we decided to switch things up and try some fresh cut bait, thinking that maybe that would trigger a bite. Yeah, bad idea. Pretty much the only thing we pulled up were catfish. Negative points to your fish score. We gave that up quick.
Oh no.
The weather just kept throwing curveballs. We'd get these short bursts of sun, clear skies, no fog, everything lit up, and man, the green across that landscape looked unreal. You'd think, okay, cool, it's finally clearing. But then, boom, 10 minutes later, the fog would drop like a curtain, and suddenly we could barely see 50 feet in front of us. It got to the point where trying to get on plane and move to a new spot felt sketchy. You just couldn't see far enough ahead to run safely. So we called it for a bit and decided to take a break, head back to camp, grab some lunch, and meet up with the rest of the crew to see how their morning played out.
It's shaded here.
Hey, WCK. Yeah, we need video of this.
Yeah.
This is the wrath of God.
You look comfy, darling.
Gravity is strong today.
We jumped back on it for the daylight we had left, determined to make the most of it. I can't even tell you how many times I looked at a spot, perfect pocket, nice current, structure, shade, and thought, there's gotta be a fish there. And nothing. Over and over again, it was the same. Great looking water, zero response. That weird front that had blown in earlier, it clearly had thrown everything off. The bite had just shut down. But even with the slow fishing, there was still so much to take in. The fog, the quiet, the untouched wilderness. This place has a way of humbling you, whether you're catching or not. Even the thick rolling fog had its own kind of beauty. One minute you're surrounded by color and sky, and the next it's like the world just folds in on itself. Not necessarily the afternoon we were hoping for, but still one we were glad to be out there for.
Do it.
Oh, that was a good cast. Eventually, we gave in. The fish just weren't biting, and the sun was on its way down. It was time to head back to camp and settle in for a trout dinner. Back at the island, Tito and Brandon had the same report as the day before. Some trout early on, and then everything just shut off. Between both boats, we'd covered a ton of ground. If there were fish around that wanted to eat, we would have found them. But hey, that's fishing. Then, of course, the tides decided to throw us another curveball. While we were preparing dinner, Tito's boat got beached. Water dropped so fast that it left the whole hull sitting dry on the sand. So, the 5 of us got to spend part of the evening hauling that thing back into the water, inch by inch. And yeah, that boat is not light. Just to add a little more mystery to the mix, we figured we'd throw out a big chunk of cut bait overnight and see if we could hook into a shark or something wild. Leave it out there and see what finds it. And the crazy thing? Nothing. Not even a nibble. Not even a catfish. That bait sat there the whole night and nobody took it. Go figure. Day 3, the final day. Our last shot at something, anything other than a trout, ladyfish, or a negative points catfish. We packed up camp, loaded all of our gear, and made sure to pick up every bit of trash on the island, then made our way back out for one last push. We were still hopeful, we were still casting. But it became clear really quick that the front that had moved through on day 2 had shut things down hard. The pressure change just flipped the switch on everything. The bite never really turned back on. Across the entire weekend, we saw 1 redfish, and we were lucky enough to eat it that first night. We didn't spook anymore while running the flats. The submerged structures weren't holding snapper. No big sharks, just a few small bonnet heads cruising by, and honestly, the lack of sightings said it all. Yeah, there were trout, and ladyfish, plenty of both, but that's not what we came out for. Still, I got a lot of good reps in, working on pitching into the mangroves from the boat, learning the feel of different setups. I ran the same soft plastics, switching between jig heads and swimbait hooks, and realized just how forgiving that swimbait hook could be. Same bait, same results with the trout, but way more control near the roots. Way less hang-ups, and way more confidence casting into tight spots. It's funny. Every place you cast feels like it should hold a fish. There's just so much good-looking water. But that also means the fish have a million spots to spread out. We had to hit 50 perfect-looking spots just to find the few that actually produced. And the fish we did find We worked hard for every single one of them. It might not have been the most action-packed trip, but honestly, it was still one of the best. The company was solid, the environment was unreal, and I found a whole new appreciation for these kinds of camping trips built around fishing. This definitely won't be the last one. We might not have been successful the way we wanted to be on this trip, but that didn't stop us from already talking about the next time we'd come back. I think all of us felt it. We weren't done here. We were ready for another shot at redemption. Redfish redemption. After catching a few more of our unofficial mascot for the weekend, the trout, we started making our way back to the dock to pull the boats out. But just because the fishing was winding down didn't mean the work was. There's a lot of cleanup after a trip like this. The boats need to be scrubbed down, tents cleaned and aired out, rods and reels rinsed to get the salt off, every piece of gear gone through, and of course, the rest of the trout needed to be cleaned and bagged. But before any of that, I think we were all dreaming of one thing, a proper meal. One that didn't come with a bonus layer of sand. No matter how careful you are, camping on the beach just ends up tasting a little gritty. Still good, but crunchy. And even after fishing for 3 days straight, yeah, we still made a few casts on the way home. We pulled over at this little roadside spot and took a few shots at bass, because sometimes you just can't help it. When there's water, you fish. It's just that simple. Once we got back, it was time for the final cleanup. Gear, fish, tackle, the whole deal. But in between rinsing rods and folding tents, we were already swapping stories, laughing about the fog, the sand, the beached boat, the catfish, and that one redfish we managed to catch. The trip might not have been the most productive in terms of fish count, but in every other way, it was a win. Camping in a place like Chokoloskee, that's something special. It reminds you how big and wild Florida still is, how much there is to explore, and how much fun you can have even when the fish don't fully cooperate. We came out here chasing redfish, but what we really caught was a few more stories, a little more experience, and one heck of a good time with friends. And honestly, that's what these trips are all about. So thanks for coming along for the ride, through the fog, the fish, the crunchy dinners, and all the in-between moments that made this one unforgettable. And if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a like, share it with a friend, and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Drop a comment too. I would love to hear your tips, stories, or just even where you're fishing next. Until next cast.